Today's reading I have from a couple of sources: the rays of the one light, parallel readings from the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita as Swamiji has written, but also a Gita reading, excerpts of a Gita reading from rays of the same light, again written by Swamiji. So first from rays of the one light. Today's topic: the secret of right action. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. One of the most famous stories in the Gospels is that of Martha and Mary. Jesus, visiting the home of Martha, was teaching, while her sister Mary sat at his feet absorbing his divine love and wisdom. Martha, meanwhile, busied herself with serving her guests and was upset with Mary for not helping her. "Lord," she cried, "doesn't it matter to you that my sister has left me to do all this serving alone? Please ask her to help me." "Martha, Martha," Jesus answered, "thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part which shall not be taken away from her." This story is classic, for Martha's complaint is very understandable and not on the surface of it spiritually wrong. Jesus may have well told Mary to get up and help her. We don't really know that he didn't, considerate as he was of others' needs. But the teaching here doesn't concern about the obvious dilemma of devotees, to work for God or to spend all one's time in prayer. It concerns rather the attitude of the mind. Jesus didn't tell Martha, "Martha, you are doing too much." He told her rather, "You are letting your work affect your inner peace." That was the contrast. Not work versus contemplation, but restless preoccupation versus peaceful absorption under all circumstances. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter, actions performed under the influence of desire are greatly inferior to those which are guided by wisdom. Happiness eludes people when they act from self-interest. Seek shelter, therefore, in the equanimity of wisdom. And then the same passage continues, rays of the same light. The Bhagavad Gita is emphasizing the eternal need for offering the I principle into the expansion of soul consciousness. Restless activity is never wholly free of ego motivation, even when it is offered devotedly to God. For restlessness is allied to ego consciousness. Without equanimity, the best that even the sincere devotee can do is affirm soul consciousness. He cannot realize it. The Gita's warning is not against right, wisdom-guided action. Such action, rather directed without selfish motive, is one of the best ways to achieve divine freedom. Actions that are motivated by self-interest lead to mental and emotional bondage. Attachment produces anxiety in the mind. When such action results in failure, its psychological fruits are disappointment, discouragement, and other negative mental states. And when it results in success, it brings an almost equally soul-disturbing fever of excitement, which the mind merely confuses with happiness. Desireless actions alone bring inner peace. While one should renounce selfish motives, the devotee should work ever enthusiastically, not for himself, but for the welfare of all, and above all, to please God. The conclusive argument against desire-motivated action is that it defeats its own purpose. People who act from selfish motives hope thereby to attain happiness, but in this hope they are forever disappointed. Life's fulfillments alternate with equal measures of disappointment. Even in those fleeting moments, moreover, when human happiness is realized, it cannot be compared with soul joy. The fulfillment of one desire usually leads to creation of still further desires. For desire conditions the mind to seek fulfillment outside of itself. An apt metaphor for this desire generating process is the nine-headed hydra, a Greek monster of classical fame. Every time one of the hydra's heads was stricken off, another one would grow in its place. Hercules found the solution. After cutting off each of the hydra's heads, he quickly cauterized the stump before a new one could grow out again. Desires must be prevented from growing out again. The best time to rid yourself of a desire, Paramahansa Yogananda thought, is at the very moment you first think of it. Self-affirmation induces self-limitation. Ego-centeredness builds its own prison. It contracts a person's consciousness, closing him off from life. The selfish person hopes to create a self-support system in the thing he acquires. In the end, however, he feels himself stranded and alone, seemingly as though in a hostile universe. It is the unselfish people who are always happy. Their sympathy and their consciousness expand ever outward toward freedom in God consciousness. Action without personal motive, guided steadfastly by equanimity of wisdom, is one of the surest ways of attaining everlasting happiness. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. So this prayer, again, according with the teaching of right action, is titled, this is by Yogananda ji, as most of you know, teach us to consider no work more important than thy work. O Spirit, as no work is possible without borrowing from thee the power to perform it, teach us to consider no work greater than thy spiritual work. Teach us to feel that since no duty is possible without thee, so no duty is more important than our duty to thee, and teach us to love thee above everything. For we cannot live or love anything or anybody without thy life, thy love. And this Friday, before I start, I was reminded, because Dharmajis are in the Ananda village, and it was Rajrishi Day on Friday, the 5th of May every year. Throughout Ananda, not here yet, but maybe soon, they celebrate this as a day of service. So everybody gathers together, especially Ananda village. They gather together and they all beautify the village. They clean all the roads, the buildings, they paint whatever needs repainting. They do all sorts of beautification projects, but all together. And the beauty of it, as our acharyas have said before, when mentioning this to us, is that no one takes individual credit for doing this thing or that thing. It is just we do this together. That is the way Swamiji honored Rajrishi, and Rajrishi Saint Klin, who was one of the foremost, in fact, disciple, the most advanced disciple of Yoganandaji, as Yoganandaji himself said, because again Rajrishi exemplified this particular way of service. And a story comes to mind which one of our acharyas said years ago during a satsang, a story of Rajrishi, and those are very few, so this is just too precious. You might have seen his pictures in autobiography. If you don't remember, I highly recommend go back home, look at his picture, because he has this smile always in his face, which is just amazing. It's just such a beatific smile of inner bliss. And I imagine he was having this same smile in this occasion too. And this occasion was after a satsang. Master is standing outside the church, as was his practice, and he is blessing everybody who's coming out, shaking their hands, and then off they go. And Rajarishi is standing right beside him. And I imagine immersed in his bliss, but still very aware of Master completely. So each of the person comes for a blessing and then goes, the next person comes, and then there is this one lady who comes up and says, Master, I don't know what I am going to do. I lost my job. I am going to lose my home. I have children. I don't have any money. I don't know what to do. What do I do, Master? And then Master just turns to Rajarishi. That is all. He just turns to Rajarishi. Rajarishi turns to Master, smiles, and takes a whole sort of roll of cash from his pocket and starts counting while looking at Master. Starts counting each bill. And when Master decides that is enough, he nods his head, and Rajarishi smiles and hands him the bills and puts the rest in his pocket and just stands smiling. And then Master gives it to the ladies and holds her hand, and this was how the story was told to me. So he directly tells to the lady, this is what I want you to spend this money for. Pay the rent, pay your bills, get groceries, sort of very direct instruction. Do this. And then off he goes. Next person comes and he blesses. Meanwhile, Rajarishi is immersed in God and Guru. And that is very key and important, because Master said something about Rajarishi ji which is amazing. He said, Rajarishi is fully liberated, and he is that way because he listens, not because he meditates 12 hours a day. He barely had any time to meditate at all. He had a wife who was against meditation, against his spiritual path. So at home, he would meditate in the washroom. Amazing. I mean, a self-liberated soul meditating in the washroom because nowhere else he could escape. And that is all. And then he went to his work, and he was a multimillionaire handling his own insurance corporation, and also he was on the board of directors for many companies. So everybody comes to him for business advice and all sorts of things. And that was his day. But his inner ear was always on Master. What is Master saying? And that is, again, I have some stories, that's why I'm looking at this. Again, that is why Rajarishi Day is celebrated, that listening. So, what is right action? We can do a lot of good things, like donating to temples, you can do annadhanam to the poor, you can do all sorts of things which are good and which are right. But what is the fundamental sort of stipulation, the code of conduct or the gold standard to speak for right action is listening inwardly to what God and Guru wants and doing that. Because, again, so many stories are popping, so this might turn out to be a story day. Because Sri Rama Yogi, again, another fully liberated soul, Master met him, Swamiji met him, and he was doing outwardly almost next to nothing. He was living his life calmly in a small village, small kutir. He had one disciple, as I have heard. So that was it. A fully realized master. And when Swamiji asked him, but you are such a great soul, you are fully liberated, why don't you go out and help people? So many will be helped. And all he said was, God has done what he wants to do with this body. And that was it. So we can't really understand what right action is with complete clarity unless we look within. Good works are good works because we have to start somewhere. We can't just say, I can't hear what God and Guru are saying to me, so maybe I shouldn't do this good thing. Maybe I shouldn't prepare for my exams. Maybe I shouldn't donate to this cause or that cause. Maybe I should just sit at home and try to listen. Meanwhile, I can have my ice cream and maybe some Netflix, because our minds will go. We can't do nothing because nothing strengthens our senses. That is how it works, unfortunately. So we have to do something, we have to start somewhere. But we do have all of the keys, all of the tools to listen inwardly. We have energization exercise, we have Hong Saw, we have the Om technique, we have Kriya, we have affirmations that we just did, we have chanting. So we have a ton of tools, the toolbox that Dhyanaji would often say whenever she comes for satsang. We have the entire toolbox, and that toolbox, working on those tools, helps us to go in and listen. Meanwhile, attitude, right attitude, as the reading says, it is a question of attitude. So if we can direct our attention inwardly to God while we are doing all of our actions outwardly, that's a good start. So we can start there. The mountaintop is going to be the mountaintop, and we need to know it. Otherwise, we won't walk towards it. If we think, okay, I have done my job, my duty for today, I have helped an old lady across the street, my good deed for the day is done. If that is all that we think right action is, and we don't have a standard, we won't know. Okay, I've done this, which is good, excellent. Help people across the street if you can. But then from there, we look up at Swamiji and Master and we realize, oh, okay, I need to keep walking. And talking about Master, like I said, this may turn out to be storytelling. One story comes to mind which many of you have heard, the very, very famous Vyasa story. So that is also a very good example. So this is the story Master says in many of his talks. So the gopis, who are disciples of Krishna, their habit is to bring Krishna cheese. And like Master says, Krishna loved cottage cheese. So they bring pots of cottage cheese to him, and he lives across the bank of the Yamuna river. So they have to come, they take a boat, go to him, give him the cheese, he eats, he blesses them, they all have a great time in God together, and they go back to their homes in the evening, and the next day repeat. So one day they come with their pots of cheese, and the Yamuna is in flood. And so they are standing there wondering, and obviously flood, the boats are all gone, no boats. And so they are wondering, and they turn around and they look Vyasa, the sage Vyasa, sitting there under a tree. He is immersed in samadhi, and they know, okay, this is a great saint. He will know a solution. So they all sort of clamor around him. And he finally opens his eyes and says, what can I do for you? And they say, look, we have to take this to our Lord Krishna across the Yamuna river, and he must be hungry. It's getting late, and the Yamuna is in flood. Help us. And this is the part I love. The way Yogananda says, he says, Krishna, Krishna, you always think of Krishna, what about me? And the gopis are angry. It's like, how dare he ask to eat before the master? But they have no hope of crossing the river on their own, so what do they do? All right. So he eats all the cheese, 3/4 of the cheese that was for Krishna, and then goes up to the river and he says, Yamuna, if I have not eaten anything, divide up and part. And they see that the river is parted and the way in between, and they are amazed. He ate all that cheese and he is saying this, but they have no time to stop to think. So they run across, and on the other side, Krishna, they find him sleeping soundly. As Master says, his little tummy is full. And so they go up and beg him, Master, we have brought your cheese. Don't you want your cheese today? And he says, no, I am full of cheese. The other fellow on the other side of the river fed me too much cheese. I don't want cheese today. And then they realized while Vyasa was eating, which is something we all do for our bodies, and it's not easy to think I'm eating for somebody else. But Vyasa is wholly immersed in the thought of Krishna, that every time he put his food in the mouth, it's going to Krishna. Literally, because his body is Krishna's body, his guru's body. So Krishna got all the cheese. And that is what Yogananda ji explains, how to perform right action. Because yes, we have to go to work every day. So, and it's not easy to think of work when you have all the meetings and the deadlines and the all sorts of competitive things going on at the workplace. It's not easy to think this is God flowing through me, working for God in others. But if we can affirm that, that is a start. If we can keep our mind on, instead of my job, my house, my relatives, my friends, my money, my this, my me, mine, if we can say, like Rajarishiji, that wad of cash was not his, it was Master's all along. And Master once asked him, told him, in fact, don't forget where your power comes from. And he said, no, Master, I will not, it comes from you. So that level of oneness with God and Guru is very, very helpful. One other story I've heard in another satsang comes to mind of Mother Teresa of Calcutta. So, as you all know, she served the poor throughout her life, the poorest of the poor, the children, the little abandoned babies and all that. It's amazing, it's heart-rending at the same time. However, the story is that she was sent to Calcutta by her missionary order as a teacher in an exclusive girls' school. So she wasn't sent saying, you go there and help the poor people. No, you go there and teach in this girls' school. And it was a pretty exclusive girls' school. So that's how she started out. She started teaching when she was young to the girls. And then, during a seclusion, when she was on pilgrimage, she said she heard Christ saying to her, help the poorest of the poor. That is what you have to do. And from one day to the next, when she returned back from the pilgrimage, that's what she did. And she said that the first child she picked up off the street, that was the hardest thing that she did. After that, everything flowed. And Jesus Christ did not send her a bank account and all buildings and all friends for running her orphanages. Nothing. All she heard was, go help the poorest of the poor. That is what I want you to do. Period. That is what she did. So it was not, again, Swamiji said this story actually, that's how I must say it. So Swamiji said this story and he made the point that it is not her good works that make her great. It is that she listened to God and never looked back. She did exactly what God wanted her to do, and that is it. If God said, you are doing good, go continue to teach the girls till the end of your life, that is exactly what she would have done. So that listening to God inside and doing what God and Guru wants is such a very, very important thing for us all to learn. And that is why we have the yoga techniques that we have to learn that listening. And the other side of it that I had in mind when telling this is also having the Divine Mother consciousness. One thing is to have in mind that we are serving, we are working, we are exercising, we are doing all of this because we have God's energy flowing through us. And we literally learn this in the energization exercises. When we do that, we say it is cosmic energy filling the body. It's not my energy is filling my body. That is nothing. So it is God's energy filling the body, enabling us to do all those work. That is the key factor that we are trying to learn. But the other side of it is also looking at other people's needs and just giving our attention to other people's realities, because we need to look beyond ourselves, to just care for what others want, and that is what makes that leap from work to service. Part of it is having God work through us, but God work through us for what? Not just for the paycheck. God working through us to give to other people through us, to help other people through us. And one incident comes to mind. A long time ago, me and another friend, we had gone to Tiruvannamalai, and this was very young and very wild times. So we just had this idea one fine day. Suddenly, I want to go to Tiruvannamalai. Are you coming? Yes, I also want to go. And then we both got on the bus and went with nothing, just the bus fare and a little bit in our pockets. We had no clue. We didn't even buy water. That was how clueless it was. So we just went, and all along the bus, I am just sitting there thinking, I am so thirsty. And then the thirst got forgotten. I have just went all the way up. And this, after we went up, and we were there for a little bit and started coming down, but by this time it was noon. So it was super hot. And it was just rocks and no slippers, because sacred mountain, that was what was in our head. So it was hot feet, hot everywhere, no water. So total dehydration, and we got separated in between. The friend was in good hands, at least. So, but we got separated in between. So, halfway down the mountain, I gave up and I sat near a bush, crouching in its shadow. That was how ridiculous it was. And then finally, I made it. Obviously, here I am. So, I made it down, and he also made it at the same time. And so, we were both together now walking. And this is the Divine Mother part. There was this lady standing out there with two big pictures of buttermilk, more, in her hand. As we walked to her, she said, I saw you coming and you look tired. Drink this. And if you had looked at us coming, at least speaking for myself, I don't think anybody would have offered us buttermilk. They would have gone, stranger danger, because that is how I looked. A hunted look on my eyes, hair everywhere, tired and wheezing as I was suffering from dehydration. But she was so completely kind. She just was, oh, somebody is suffering. And then she pointed, after I downed all that buttermilk, she pointed to her home saying, would you like to come in and rest? And she had to point, because that is how small her home was. It was probably only half this stage with that old red floor, you remember, and with the roof. That was the home, the floor, the roof. And then I thought, if we got in, you would have to get out. That is how small that is. So I declined, but the buttermilk was good, but her care was even more good. I did not realize at that time, but it gave me, just that somebody is so caring, gave me enough strength to walk around for a couple more hours, because I just was determined to get home as soon as possible. This cannot go on. We need to get home so that we can be safe. So I got a bus, finally we got on it and came all the way home. But just that buttermilk, just the look in her eyes, the kindness and the offering just remains so fresh in my mind, because it is again the Divine Mother quality of not just like, I don't know what provisions she had for her own family. It was such a small home. And she did not think about herself or her family. Those two huge pictures of buttermilk is just like, oh my God, two people are in trouble, I need to help them, which is such an amazing thing. One more little childhood story that comes to mind. Again, we don't really understand what anybody else is going through. I hardly understood what I was going through in the dehydration. So we rarely even have a clue what others are going through. And this happened in my very early childhood. I was 3, 4, 5, 6 that time. And there was this neighbor just a few doors down who had this big bungalow, like the ones you see in Hindi movies, that big. And tall walls, like up to this at least, tall walls all around. And nobody could peek in. Big black doors shut with small slits in between. And he was very grumpy at everybody. So all the children were warned, if your ball goes in, it is done. Do not try to climb the wall. Do not try to jump, as if he was the witch from Hansel and Gretel. He will cook you and eat you. That is the level of warning we were given. So we all were very terrified of him. Everybody. Because whenever the few times that I saw him, he looked grumpy to sort of fit the bill on what the rest of the adults were warning. One day, I could not have been maybe less than 10, not more. I was sent to the medical shop by my mother to buy some medicine. And while there, I saw this guy standing. And he was buying what looked like medicine for the village. So a huge bundle of medicine. And as young as I was, I just pointed, what is that for? And he just turned to me, paused a moment and explained, well, this is for my sugar, this is for my blood pressure, this is for this is for that. He just explained calmly and then put it all in his plastic bag and walked back home. And later, I just thought about it and it made perfect sense. He was not being grouchy for no apparent reason at all. He was unwell, suffering from all sorts of things. He was all alone in that big bungalow. I saw no relatives in all the time I was there. Nobody came to look after him. It was just sad. And nobody in the neighborhood would smile at him because they all believed he was the town grouch. So they all avoided him. But we don't know. He just answered to me, and the way he patiently answered to me showed that he was not really as grouchy as the adults were making him out to be. I mean, he was patiently responding to a child. So that we just have to give space to other people to just be where they are, who they are, even if we don't understand it, because they may be going through very difficult life situations and we just don't know. We just have no idea. So we have to really learn to give space, give joy, give whatever we can. Even a smile would have made that man's day. So give whatever we can, wherever we can, to whoever we can, just in that idea of, look, God has kept me where I am, which is pretty good for all of us, I would say. Right? We all have jobs, we have homes, we have loving families, we have good friends, we have, that is not even, that is small change compared to what we have here. We have all these avatars teaching us Kriya Yoga and amazing things. Going back to the listening, I also wonder if that also was something that Lahiri Mahasaya meant when he said, our only purpose in life is to listen to the sound of Om. And he might have meant meditate all the time. Master said that as well. But still, he was not meditating all the time, at least not outwardly. He was one with God all the time, but he was working. His 9 to 5 shift or whatever he was working as an accountant 26 years after meeting Babaji, and he was teaching Kriya Yoga in the evening to all of the people who came to him. So that was a lot of work. And so listening, because again he listened to Babaji. Babaji said, go back to your job. You have to demonstrate that you can be free no matter what our station in life. So that listening, I wonder if that is also part of what he meant. Our job is to listen constantly to Om. Om is again Divine Mother. Divine Mother consciousness. If we can listen to Divine Mother consciousness and do whatever our work is in life with that consciousness, drawing whatever of it as we can, and more comes in time, in degrees. We awaken that self within us gradually. It's not all at once, but when we start with that goal in our mind, it really helps a lot. In even Swamiji's meeting of Master, we all remember that story. Swamiji says in the New Path, he reads the autobiography, and the next bus, he says, virtually the next bus, I waited for a day. And he got on and he went all the way from New York to Los Angeles, 4 days, 4 nights, and he meets Master Yoganandaji. Not after a few things, he first goes to Encinitas, right? And then there he meets Jnana Mataji, who says, no, you have to read the lessons, and it will take some amount of time, which was huge. And then he learns that Master is in Hollywood Church, so he goes there. And there also again a lady at the reception says, no, his appointments are all booked, you have to wait a certain amount of time. So he is sort of making up in his mind, maybe I am not just ready. He's sort of getting ready to wait and thinking of how to wait for a certain, which was several months. How to wait, where to live for those several months, because his father and mother were in Egypt. He was 21, 22 years old. So he was just thinking, and then the lady comes back saying, since you have come from so far away, let me ask if the Master can see you today. She goes, comes back and says, the Master will see you today. So he is overjoyed. He goes and he sees, and the first thing, at least one of the first things, as he says, that Yoganandaji tells him, I want you to know that I am not seeing you because you came from far away. Just last week, a woman came from Sweden and I sent her away because Divine Mother said not to see her. I am seeing you only because Divine Mother told me to see you, which is amazing to think about it. So he was not telling Swamiji that therefore you are unimportant in some way or anything like that, but no matter what is at stake, because Master knew Swamiji was his own son, spiritual son, his disciple. Master knew all of that, but he still was asking Divine Mother, is this the right time? Should I see him now? And only when he felt Divine Mother saying yes, Divine Mother must have come in front of him in all her glory and said yes, but we don't know. I don't know that. But Divine Mother did say yes. And then he said to Swamiji, I am seeing you because Divine Mother asked me to see you. That's such a very, very important lesson for us. So while we can donate bricks and mortar and money to temples, while we can give food to the poor and do all that, the consciousness with which we do it is much more important than the activity itself. So that is the teaching. So that very, very important factor in the course of right action in our lives. Just look at this. So this is what I missed. So I wrote down a quote that Yoganandaji said because it was just fantastic, as is all his sayings, but it was also funny and tragic at the same time. So about right action again. Yoganandaji writes, as a mule, which is a donkey, as a mule carrying a heavy bag of gold does not profit by it, but only suffers under its weight, so does a rich miser suffer through the burden and responsibility of possessing wealth without being able to use it. The Gita compares people with desire-guided actions to miserly people. As miserly people are only conscious of the weight of responsibility of possessing riches without being able to enjoy them, so people who are prodded by their desires, constantly concentrating on the fruits of actions, work incessantly and wish for more and more without being able to enjoy life. That was such an amazing comparison. The donkey carrying gold does not know that it is gold. So we can't just, even if we do good works for good work's sake, that is still only good karma. It is still karma. We will get good results for it. But we all know what karma gets us. It gets us another ticket back here. If we do good works, knowing that God is in all of goodness and God is inspiring this goodness through us and God is giving the energy to do the goodness, then that really uplifts us. With that, we will close and we will have the Arati now. Oh, right. Rajesh was reminding me of something very important that I wanted to do. So we will end with that. Maybe you can take this mic. This is a poem that I wanted to share with you all, written by Master. It is in the autobiography and sung by Swamiji, which again goes with this theme, whole theme of right action, how to perform right action.
From the depths of slumbers I sing, the spiral stairways of wakefulness. I will whisper, whisper, God, God, God. Thou art the food, and when I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I will taste thee and mentally say, God, God, God. No matter where I go, the spotlight of my mind will ever keep turning on thee. And in the battle din of activity, my silent war cry will be, God, God, God. When boisterous storms of trial shriek, and when worries howl at me, I will drown their noises loudly chanting, God, God, God. weaves dreams, dreams with threads of memories. On that magic cloth will I emboss God, God, God. Every night in time of deepest sleep, when my peace dreams and calls, joy, joy, my joy comes singing evermore. God, God, God. In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any. God.